For those of you that don't know me, my name's Lottie Jones. I'm a member of the ESS Nutrition and Wellbeing team. And today's webinar, we will be discussing a bit about food allergies. So we're going to look at what a food allergy is, the difference between an allergy and an intolerance, and a bit about the law surrounding allergens in food products. So this is just a bit of a more detailed agenda. So we've got a few facts and figures about the number of people who suffer from allergies and intolerances. We've then just got a comparison between the two, looking a bit at causes, symptoms, and reaction times. We've then got a bit about the food information regulations, so the common EU allergens and what we at ESS do. We've then got a bit about Natasha's law, which some of you might be aware of, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail. We've then got a couple of slides on hidden allergens in food products, so products to watch out for, and then just a summary of some take-home messages. And there should be some time for questions at the end in the chat box. So did you know that in the UK, 1 to 2% of people are affected by food allergies? So this means that about 2 million people in the UK have been diagnosed with a food allergy. And there are also about 20% of the UK population who think they have a food intolerance. So EU regulation helps to provide helpful information for these people as they need to avoid eating the foods that contain the ingredients which cause their symptoms. And in the UK, peanut and milk allergies are the most common. So then if we look at food allergies first, so these are basically where a response is triggered by certain foods. So it's all linked to your immune system. So your immune system produces antibodies. So in particular, immunoglobulin E antibodies, and these are kind of released to fight off that perceived threat from that food. So you've got various symptoms. So some are quite mild, others can be more severe, and in some cases they can be life-threatening. So food allergies can be pretty serious. You've then got the symptoms. So this could be things like digestive problems, perhaps a skin reaction. So you could come out in hives or swelling. You've then got respiratory issues. So you might struggle to breathe. Sometimes people's throat kind of swells up. So that's why they really struggle to breathe. And then also cardiovascular symptoms. And then there's also anaphylaxis, which I will go on to in a second. So if you have a food allergy and you eat the food that you're allergic to, your symptoms can come on within a matter of minutes. So it's really rapid that you can be seeing these symptoms. So anaphylaxis is basically an incredibly severe reaction. So it develops incredibly rapidly, sometimes within moments of eating the food or the food touching your lips. And it basically requires treatment immediately, otherwise it can be fatal. So what can happen in this case is if someone has had quite a severe reaction before to a food, they'll carry around an adrenaline auto-injector, which is used to treat them in an emergency. So this is something like an EpiPen, which is often stabbed into the leg, and it kind of produces adrenaline and sends that all around your body to help kind of your body start fighting against the food that you've eaten, and normally buys enough time until emergency services come. So if people do have an allergy, it's really important that they do keep their EpiPen on them if they've had that severe reaction before. Lots of people might carry it if they have allergies to peanuts or nuts. So then looking at food intolerances. So this is basically when your body is unable to digest certain foods or certain ingredients in foods. So they're not normally as serious as allergies, but if you do eat the food, it can make you feel quite unwell. So symptoms might include things like diarrhea, you might get really bloated and have excess gas, and also pain in the stomach as well. And these symptoms, they're not as rapid as allergies. So they can arrive after a few hours, and they can also last for a few hours or even days. So then I've just got a bit of a comparison between an allergy and intolerance, because a lot of people use those words interchangeably, but they are in fact different. So your allergy is more of your immune response, whereas your intolerance is having that lack of enzymes to actually digest and break down the food that's the issue, which can be uncomfortable, but your symptoms could be inconsistent. So, say you're allergic to, if you have an allergy to eggs, for example, you will have that reaction every single time. But if you have an intolerance to dairy, it won't happen every time. It could happen sometimes and not others. And it's not quite sure why that happens. So, the allergy happens every time and it can happen really quickly. And it can be as small as a very small molecule of food, or some people, even if they can smell the food, they can have their reaction. Whereas an intolerance can take a bit longer and also can be one bite, but also you could eat a whole plate of food before you start to feel the symptoms. And common allergies include things like milk, eggs, shellfish, and also wheat. And then your intolerances is more things like your grains, your beans, your cabbage, and also your dairy, like I touched on before. So then we'll just talk a bit about legislation. So why is legislation important? So it helps to not only protect our customers, but also the company and our clients. If someone eats a food and then has a reaction, there's potential for people to make personal injury claims. It can have a huge damage to the company reputation. And also it's a criminal offence for failures in complying with legislation. So, for example, if someone comes into the cafe or a restaurant and asked to see the allergen information and they're not able to, or the information that's provided is incorrect, you can be fined. So it's really important that we make sure we're compliant. And within Compass and ESS, there are lots of systems and procedures in place to make sure we prevent any of this happening. So now on to a bit about the food information regulations. So you might be aware of this or you might not. So essentially it's a UK regulation, and it was enforced in December 2014. So the food information regulations, it's also known as the FIR, and it's basically all the allergen information has to be made available on request. So the 14 allergens that need to be made available are on the screen there. And I'll go through them all in a bit more detail in a second. And this is for things which are pre-packed foods, so retail. So this could be anything from you picking up your bag of crisps, but also non-pre-packed foods. So things if you go into a restaurant or you go into somewhere where there's a hot counter. So yes, and although it's just this is for the 14 common EU allergens, we still need to take it seriously. And obviously, if someone came in saying that they have an allergy to apples, for example, it's not one of the 14 there, but we would still need to be able to find out if the product that they want has that food in. So yes. Um, And then basically it was introduced to make sure that labels were more consistent, and also for those people with allergens to avoid them and make eating out and eating food a lot safer for them. So these 14 common allergens, they might be listed in bold on packaging or kind of emphasized so that people can really clearly see that they're contained. And it just enables consumers to make safer food choices. So it's really important. So now just a bit more about those 14 common EU allergens. So as we've said, an allergen is a food or an ingredient which causes an allergic reaction in certain groups of people. So first you've got peanuts. So peanuts are often found in sauces, cakes, also groundnut oil and peanut flour. You've then got nuts, so this could be things like marzipan, ground almonds, nut oils, even crackers or different desserts they can be hidden in. You've then got milk, so this isn't just milk on its own, but also includes yogurt, cream, butter, and also foods glazed with milk. So this quite a lot of pastries and pies are glazed with milk to give that caramelized effect after cooking. You've then got soya, so this is things like your tofu, but also can be found in ice cream and desserts, and also both meat and vegetarian products. You've then got mustard, so this is things like often found in salad dressing and marinades. It can also be found in sauces and curries as well. Lupin, so this is a bit of a rarer one. People haven't come across this one as much, but lupin seeds and flowers can be found in different types of bread and pastries, so people aren't aware of it as much, but it is one of the 14 major allergens. Then we have eggs, so obviously you get these in cakes, mousses, but also some meat products, mayonnaise, and again, it's similar to those products that are brushed with milk. Products might also be brushed with egg as well. Then number 8 is fish. So you've got, again, some salad dressings, fish sauce, things like Caesar salad. They actually contain anchovies in them. So a lot of people aren't aware of that, but a Caesar dressing often does contain anchovies. And then it could be found on pizzas and also Worcestershire sauce as well. So crustaceans, so this is things like your prawns, scampi crab, but it could also be shrimp paste. And then you've got your mollusks, so these are mussels, oysters, clams. Then you have your gluten, so this can be things like wheat, rye, barley, so it's obviously very prominent in your breads, your pastries, your cakes, breadcrumbs, but also can be found in things like stock cubes and batters as well. You've then got sesame, so this was quite a big one a couple of years ago. I've got a kind of case study about it. About someone who ate sesame, which I'll go on to. So that's one of them. So it's in bread, breadsticks, also hummus. So tahini is a key part of hummus, and that is basically made up of sesame. Then got your celery, so obviously celery stalks, but can be hidden in things like stock cubes, celery salt, tomato ketchup as well also has it, which is a bit of a hidden one. And then lastly, you have sulfur, so often found in meat products to help preserve it. Same with wine and beer, and also potatoes to help with preservation and stop them turning black. So then what do we do? So in our cafes and restaurants, we will have our front of house allergen report. So look a bit similar to this. So we've got the 14 major allergens on there, and we've got whether it contains or doesn't contain, and you'd be able to ask anyone for a copy of it. It can normally be found as either like an allergy tablet in the restaurant, or also a booklet as well, which is updated every day based on what's on offer. So if you do have any questions or queries, just reach out to someone and they will help you. So next we'll go on to Natasha's Law. So this is why allergen info must be correct. So this is the awful story that you may or may not have heard about. Basically, a girl had a sesame allergy, and she very sadly passed away after eating a Pret baguette that she purchased at Heathrow Airport. So she bought the baguette and didn't realize that it had sesame kind of baked into the bread. So her father did administer 2 EpiPen injections, but sadly she died a few hours later. So her parents have been campaigning to make sure that this kind of law was brought into place. So it was brought in on the 1st of October 2021, and it basically helped consumers by providing potentially life-saving allergen information on packaging. So this is basically to provide customers and also the restaurants and us with an additional layer of protection to prevent these potentially life-threatening events happening. And it affects businesses which produce pre-packed for direct sale items. So pre-packed for direct sale is basically food which is packaged at the same place it's offered or sold to customers, and is in the packaging before it's ordered or selected. So this could be things like customers going in and selecting things from a display unit. So you're aware in shops like Pret, Starbucks, they have all their sandwiches pre-made and on the shelf. So they will all have packaging labeling on them now, which highlights all of the allergens if they're contained. So you've got those ones. You've also then got products which are kept behind a counter, and also those which are sold in mobile or temporary outlets. So you've just got some examples of what it includes and doesn't include here. Drinks are also included. That's an important one to note. If you think you've got something like a milk drink which has got an alternative milk in it, maybe almond milk, nuts are one of the 14 allergens. So that would need to be labelled on there. But it doesn't include things like service counter food and also like pre-packaged things as well. Then just some watch outs. So a lot of everyday food can contain some hidden allergens, which you might not be expecting to find, which is why it's always really important to check the labels before you buy the products. And so on the next few slides, we will go through some of the products and some unexpected allergens contained within them. So celery is often used in recipes to enhance flavour, but often isn't listed on the menu. You've then got gluten. So in some cases, gluten can be found in scrambled eggs, as restaurants might add it to their eggs to make them fluffy by adding like pancake batter. So their scrambled eggs appear really appealing. And then you've also got eggs. So these are often used as a binder or an emulsifier. So I've picked some unexpected allergens here and some products that they might be present in. So celery, I'd mentioned ketchup, but there's also Marmite. So that's a big one. You wouldn't expect celery to be in there, but it is. Gluten is often found in certain blue or veined cheeses. If you've got battered chips, these will likely have a flour coating. And the mayonnaise, gluten is often in, and also ready-made pasta sauces. So these might have a kind of starch as a thickener, which could have gluten in. And then gluten is also found in vodka, which I found interesting. Crustaceans can often be found obviously in fish stock or fish soup, but also nutritional supplements as well. So then on this side, we've got egg. So things like artificial crab meat. So that's that picture in the top right-hand corner. It's called surimi, that has egg in it. You've also then got fresh pasta. And then I touched with egg. And then you can also see there the picture of the Caesar salad. So traditionally uses anchovies in the dressing, but barbecue sauce as well might have fish in there. And then nuts. So nuts are very popular in Indian cooking with things like cashews and almonds, often used as thickeners in sauces. So that's one to definitely look out for, whether it's eating out or just buying your jarred sauces in the supermarket. Veggie burgers, pesto, and then also things like energy bars and also gin. So the brand Bombay Sapphire contains almonds, which again, you wouldn't necessarily think that it would, but just another one that's unexpected. And then sesame. So I've spoke a bit about hummus before, but your stir fry noodles and also cereals as well. So essentially, it's really important to stay alert. So you can be checking the label before purchasing foods for any hidden allergens. If you're eating out, ask restaurant staff if you can see the list of allergens before ordering. If you think something you might be getting contains something you're allergic to, that's what they're there to do. They should all be trained, so it should be really easy to do. You might notice now that a lot of restaurants, when you're eating in them, always ask, do you have any allergens, anything we can be aware of, which is them just doing their due diligence. And then if you suspect that you may have an allergy or an intolerance, you could book a doctor's appointment to discuss it. They can run some tests, and if it's an intolerance, maybe try you on a slightly different diet, and they'll be able to help you out as well. And then I'm sure you're all aware, but if you are with someone you believe is having an allergic reaction, call 999 immediately, find out if they've got their EpiPen on them, and this can hopefully help them. So then just a little bit of a summary of everything that we have gone through today. Hopefully you've got some good takeaways that you can take from this session. So your food allergy reactions basically occur 100% of the time and within minutes of eating, and it's all about your immune system. Whereas your food intolerance is your digestive enzymes unable to break down that food, which is why it can be noticed a few hours after eating and it takes longer. You've then got those 14 major allergens. So as you can see them pictured again there, that is them. So they're the ones to really be aware of. But also people can have allergies to lots of different foods as well. So if that's you, you might know that. So you'll always need to be reading the back of pack or asking in a restaurant. And then Natasha's law is that law that sadly came into effect after the girl died after eating the prep baguette with sesame. So this is for all items which are pre-packed for direct sale. And then it's basically just about being vigilant. So I'm sure if you do suffer from an allergy or an intolerance, you're really careful with what you eat. But it's just thinking about some of those foods that products might be hidden in, so you don't get caught out. So checking that packaging, asking those questions when you're out and about, and letting friends and families know as well. So that was all I had to run through today. I don't know if people have any questions. Before I come back to the screen, I will just let you know a bit about us as a team. So myself and Leanne, you can email us any questions you might have if you don't want to ask them on here, or you have a query that pops up perhaps later in the week. So our email address is on the screen now. So it's ess.wellness@compass-group.co.uk, the same email address that you would have got the invite for this webinar from. And we are happy to come in and give talks or answer any questions that you might have. And also, we have our seasonal magazine. So we've just launched our spring magazine. So this kind of has lots of different topical articles and tips of sort of the wider health and wellbeing agenda. And you can again sign up through our email address, which I showed you on the previous page. And then obviously you're all here today for the webinar, which is great. If you find that you can't make the webinar, they are uploaded to YouTube, and we aim to have them on the first Wednesday of every month as well. So we cover a range of different topics. So we've done things like digestive health, heart health. So yeah, if you have any topics that you want to go and read over, they're probably up on the YouTube channel. Okay, so we've got two quite similar questions here about getting a diagnosis for a food intolerance. Someone has said that they went to the doctors and they were unable to test for anything unless they knew what it was for. And they have tried process of elimination, but they're asking about if there are any reliable home testing kits that you can use as a starting point. And there is another question that's also similar about kind of at-home tests. So there's I'm not aware of, I haven't done the research basically looking at specific tests, but I'd be happy to go away and have a look at it. So if you want to just drop me an email into the ESS Wellness email, I can kind of do some research and help you with that, because I don't know any at the minute. So it might be that getting an at-home test is a good option, and I can kind of have a look at that for you. But I wouldn't be able to just kind of recommend one as I go. Someone has also asked, if it takes so long to get an effect from food intolerance, how can you tell what you're intolerant to? So it might be helpful to keep a food diary. So if you're finding that you're kind of having similar symptoms, maybe stomach cramps or bloating or excess gas, you can kind of write down what you've eaten that day and then kind of take it from there to sort of eliminate different foods and work it out. It can be hard at first if you're eating a lot of similar foods and only one or two ingredients are changing. That kind of makes it easier to decide. But the symptoms don't take ages to come on, so you should probably be able to, if you know that it's come on after dinner, you'll be able to narrow it down to that meal. So did you have something different, like did you have cheese with your meals, in which case it could be dairy, or did you add in some extra beans or pulses? That might be helpful to kind of do the food diary. Someone has asked about better signposting of allergens on food that is served, not pre-packed, that the app tells you what you can use, but being sure what it is when you get to the counter isn't always clear. So if you ever have any queries, just ask a member of staff, because they should be able to help you and tell you what allergens there are. They'll be able to produce the allergen report to you for you to have a look at. So if you're ever in doubt, just ask a member of staff and they will be able to help you. I think that's it for questions at the minute. Hopefully you've all found that really helpful and have enjoyed that webinar today. And hopefully I will see a lot of you in next month's webinar. So yes, thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you will join again soon. I will now close down the webinar. Thanks again. Bye.